All right, everyone, this is lesson 10, and I'm out here in the garden today. We're all supposed to be sheltering in place. A lot has changed since my last lesson, number 9, that I did for somebody else. This one, I was just drawing the cards to just see how they would look on camera, and the spread was so trippy that I went ahead and decided just to leave it. Clearly, these are not regular playing cards, but we're still going to go through the pattern the same way, and we'll talk about each of them in detail. So you're going to hear some sounds of maybe a little traffic or some birds. That's fine. It's not uncommon to do outdoor readings at all. And so because these are not regular playing cards, we are going to have some higher arcana. Also, I do not lay cards in reverse. So even if I draw them reversed, I flip them up. If a card was reversed, it would just be withheld energy or something that just hasn't come to potential yet. I'm also using my microphone here. Hopefully you can hear me a little better. So this is a test and we'll see if it works. All right, so my querent today is the earth. And so my intention as I drew these cards was to focus on the earth, as if the earth was a person who was a querent coming to me for a reading. So I thought that would be a fun way to just kind of go over it here. And so as we begin and we look at the roots of our tree of life with a tarot deck, we see that in the roots, we have many wands. Now this is a little different because these wands are in the element of air. And so wands oftentimes are staffs that are in the ground. I talk about it as like the shepherd's crook or something like that. So a lot of change has occurred. This is an 8. This is the earth has really gone through some stuff over the millennium. And so not uncommon for earth to be going through a lot of change. Oftentimes I use the infinity symbol for the number 8. I call it the wisdom of the past into the future card. Interestingly enough, the synchronistic trunk that came up in this random spread was judgment. And so now we don't have a suit and we don't have a number and we have art. So these are images that are going to impact the person that you're reading for and also the language that you choose to use. Interesting, in the trunk of the tree that's keeping it strong is Judgment Day. So I'll try not to laugh too much, but I had to keep these cards. Once I laid them out, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be fun. So in the recent past, we have the 3 of Swords. Remember, swords are spades, and they are stabbing through a heart. And so in the recent past, there's been a bit of sorrow. And so, you know, we talk about swords being communication. We've all kind of gotten some bad news lately. There's been a big change in how all of us are habitating the planet. So we'll just leave it at that. Now, the querent is Earth. And interestingly enough, the Wheel of Fortune Major Arcana card came up. Not only that, but we ended up with a straight line of Major Arcana from Judgment to Wheel of Fortune to Justice in the Higher Power card with the Hangman in the Blossom position. Again, that was just another thing of like, oh my goodness, I've just got to go with this. Now, Wheel of Fortune is coming from the point of view of the earth. So this is the earth with all of this going on around them. All of us dealing with political upheaval, government upheaval, health issues, business issues. It can affect our relationships, our romances, our children. Everything is affected. And so we're just going to give it a big fat spin here and see what happens on the Wheel of Fortune. It is not Chariot or other potential major arcanas. This gives me the feeling that the earth is just kind of shrugging and saying, thanks a lot. Now it's all up to you guys. That's my opinion as I read these cards. So we look at the Knight of Pentacles. Now in Tarot, Pentacles for us with our regular playing cards would be diamonds. So this is shields. They have a star on them in this deck. And remember that a knight is a jack. And so I talk about that being the messenger. This is when we kind of got some bad news. Earth is contemplating all of this potential fortune or misfortune. But we're starting to get the message that we're starting to figure it out. We're starting to learn as we blossom that it's like, oh, well, we got to do what we got to do. We're just kind of hung there. We have to distance ourselves. We have to maintain cleanliness in a more serious manner, though I do believe strongly in the immune system. So I would just counsel the earth to say, just watch what happens, because we're all learning quite a bit now. There's a bit of near future communication issues. Some people are just saying this is total BS. They're walking away from it. They've thrown down their swords, like whatever. And those in a position of power are maintaining not one, but two swords. So this is actually a 5 of swords. I would consider this a future warning. If this is what's blossoming, that we're just kind of stuck. And the fruit of that is that the higher powers, meaning government and employers, people like that, are going to maintain some power, perhaps in like the stock market and things like that. We just have to be aware that we can't just throw down our sword. We can't just walk away. Actually, our fellow there has 3 swords. He has 2 on his shoulders in the element of air and 1 planted firmly in the earth, which would suggest also more of that social networking and community aspect. All in all, ultimately, this is justice. So the higher power card, the spirit card from above, is just sitting there watching and waiting. We're all justified in our behaviors that we choose. Just be safe, be kind, and feel free in the comments to give your own reading on this. If you have any questions, you can always email me at cgypsyevents, SEAGYPSYEVENTS @gmail.com. Peace.